Hello YouTube, this is Salam. In this video I'm going to review the central machinery milling and drilling machine item number 33686. Harbor Freight sell this machine here in the United States. I bought this machine 6 years ago. It was used. I'm the third owner. I paid $300 for it. I did a lot of work to it since I bought it. There was some damage into this section over here. The metal was broke. I welded it. I repainted it and I changed all the bearings and I changed some capacitors in the motor. It cost me an additional $200, but I got it in shape. I changed the mechanical switch that used to operate the milling machine, and I installed two relay inside this electrical box, and I added these switches. This one over here to stop it so the machine will not run. You have forward motion, stop, reverse motion. I also added a DRO. I bought this on eBay. I built the box. I just bought these units and the units that's installed in the 3 dimensions for the vertical travel and both dimension on the table. I rarely use it. This machine has 10 thread per inch lead screws, and all the marking or the dials, it's give you 1000 per inch for every mark or every a click, or 100,000 per full rotation. I also fixed all the backlash. I added shim over here to remove the backlash so the table is very solid. I use the locks over here when I mill something or drill something so it doesn't move, and I make sure this tight. If I need to face mill something, I lock the quill. It has a mechanical stop so you don't hit the table or the vise. This vise came with it. I milled the bottom part of it because it wasn't true, and then I set it on the table. I milled the ways, and then I installed the jaw and mill them, and then mill these over here, and it's perfect. This one perfectly parallel to the table, and I set a dial indicator on this mill, and it's perfect. This rotate over here perfectly around the table, so it's very solid. And then when I changed the bearings for the spindle, I took most of the play off. I have less than 5,000 play. You need that for the bearing because when this spinning, the bearing will get hot, so it doesn't lock on you. You need to leave just little tiny play. This machine also operate like a drill press. You could drill with it. You could move the quill up and down using this. And like I said, you could set the stop. I use this a lot. I never had any accidental damage where the drill bit or the end mill hit any part of this. When you shop for used milling machine, a lot of time you see an evidence of a crashing where they drill to the table or this other stuff of the machine. This will help you prevent this from happening. So you could go all the way with it, and then if you use it as a drill press, it will not allow you to go any further. I also added this over here, this rubber piece, so when I adjust the movement this way, metal shaving will not get inside the lead screw and ultimately into the lower cabinet, because there is opening from the cabinet down. It also has a stop over here where you could lock the gibs so this doesn't move. They are located over here. You could adjust the speeds of this milling machine by changing the belt configuration. I will show you here a little bit a side view video so you see all this over here. You could raise and lower this head by using these two bolts over here. A lot of machinists, they don't like round column mill. I personally operated several milling machines, including a Bridgeport style milling machine. They big and heavy, and with those you don't have this problem. When you lose the two side nuts to adjust it up and down, you never could get it back to the same axis, because you know it's round column, it's not square or it has guides. If you buy something similar to resolve this problem, what you could do, you could get a laser and mount it permanently on this machine, and then use machinist level and put mark on a wall away from this milling machine. Make sure it's perfectly level. If you set your milling machine level, this way if you raise it or lower it, you could put it back, you could turn the laser on and set it back to this perfectly level configuration, and this will get you back into the axis that you were on before you raise and lower this, this unit. You run to this if you work on a project and you have to change tool. You have to go from end mill to drill bit, where you have to put chuck or face mill, etc. And the length of it is different, and this 5 inch of travel this way is not sufficient enough, so you have to raise or lower this unit. Personally, when I work on a project that require tool change, I plan it ahead of time. I set the work, I raise or lower this whole head, tied it up, make sure all the tools that I'm going to use, they will work with the head set that way. And this way you solve this problem. This mill being great. I never did any project that I suffer from problem, or you know the mill didn't do the job. It's been great. And for the price that I paid for this milling machine, it's cheaper than drill press. So it's been a great investment for me. If you are planning to buy a milling machine, buy the biggest milling machine your workspace allow it. I only bought this because I have a small shop right now, so, and as you see it's in the way. I had to install it over here in front of my work table, but I get around it just fine. I could work over here in this area of the table or in this area, and I have a plenty room to move the table in all dimensions. But if you are planning to purchase a milling machine, buy the biggest one your workshop allow you to install. Don't worry about the budget. Save money if you don't have enough money until you get enough to buy big machine. Because with big machine, you could do small work and large work. With the mini mills, the one that you set on the table, you are limited to small work. This milling machine being great. If you find one for good price, go ahead and buy it. Just be careful when you tie this head. Don't over torque it, you may break it. This made of cast. There is several variants. They look exactly like this milling machine made by other companies. My understanding, I researched this when I bought this milling machine. They said they have a factory in China, and the good quality one, after they cast them, they label them as, you know, I don't want to name companies, but they sell them as high brand company. Then the less of a quality, they sell them through Harbor Freights and other companies around the world. What you need after you buy this machine, dismantle it, clean it, and change all the bearings and shim it, and this will make it precise, and you can do precise work with it. That's about it. I'll take the camera and I'll show you a few things that I purchased in addition to this end mill. They make my job easy. And I also show you the weld I did over here on the sides. And let's get started. This shows the end result after I set the bearing and shim the column. I milled the vise after I got the milling machine through square and level. This milling machine, it has what they call R8 collet, where you could use a drill chuck, face mill, a boring bar. You could adjust this to the side so you could get a precise hole. You also will need a parallel set. You will set this in the jaw to tie the work. This one over here, it has many parallel inside it, different sizes. I only use these two. I also have a lot of end mills. I buy them in lots on eBay. You get good prices on them. These carbide cutters, they great. And actually on the milling machine, if you tie the table before you drill, you'll never break them. They will survive for a long time. I bought this, a 3-inch, in 2014 when I was working on the bulldozer, and I had to adapt the fan to fit the water pump. I actually bought a fan that wasn't designed to work on the bulldozer, and I use this one over here, and I use it since for a lot of projects. One time actually, before I bought this face end mill, I used it as a face cutter, and I faced something with it, and still great. These, they will break easy if you use them on handheld drill, but on a milling machine, especially if you tie the table where it doesn't move, and you use a lot of oil to lubricate the cut, they will survive for a long time. What I did for the oil, I took this 2.5-inch pipe and I welded an end over here at the bottom, and then I epoxy. I can't show it because I'll spill the paint. I epoxy a magnet over here, and I epoxy it all the way so metal shaving will not get underneath it and make it hard to clean. It's a flat right now over here at the bottom, and it will stick so the oil doesn't spill. And I use old hydraulic fluid or cutting fluid when I use it to drill on the end mill or on the lathe, or when I use it for the end mill drill or on the lathe, and it works great. You also need dial indicator if you have some precise work, and also when you set your milling machine to make sure if you need to shim the column or etc. or remove the backlash, you need this. You need a caliper. They have calipers like this, and they also have digital calipers. You will be fine. Just make sure you buy it good quality and hardened metal to mark. If you try to drill something, you could mark it, and this will not get damaged. This being great. I have this for about 10 years and still good. I also built this drill bit organizer out of piece of 2x6 lumber. I drill it about halfway, 3 sizes, so I could store drill bits this way and I'll have access to them easy. And I just tie it from the side to this table. It's actually not attached to the table. There's about 1/4 inch clearance, so this end mill doesn't touch the table. The first owner of this milling machine, he over torqued this bolt, and that resulted in a crack over here. The crack was up to here. What I did, I drilled the end of the crack so it doesn't continue. I also drilled several holes through the crack, and then I cleaned it with the grinder deep. I made like a groove, and then I brazed it all the way. Then I ground it, and then I painted it. You barely could tell there's repair done over here. I upgraded these two bolts, the one you tie to tie the head to the column. I use grade 8 bolts. I'll show some pictures of those when I build them. And when I tie them, I make sure to tie both of them. Snug them first, then torque this one a little bit, torque the up one little bit, and continue until you know it's get tight. That's about it. You don't need to tight it too much. This may break this area. That's the weakest spot in this design. However, you know, for the price and the availability, I think this better than anything else, better than a drill press, and it will get the job done. Just make sure you don't over torque this. This speed chart will show you what speeds this mill is capable of. At 60 Hertz, the lowest speed is 120 rotation per minute, and the highest is 2500 or 2500. And this over here will explain the configurations of the belts. You have 3 pulleys, one attached to the motor and one right here in the middle. This one will hinge based on the length of the belt, and this one over here connected to the spindle. You could adjust these belts. There's a bolt over here on the motor. This one, you lose it and the motor will get closer to the head, so you get free play in the belts, and then you could move them and reconfigure this mill. It's very easy. I always set it to this speed over here when I do hole saws or large drill bits. I set it to the second one on the motor, second one from top over here, the bottom over here, and the lower one or the largest one on the spindle. And it's worked out great for me. This milling machine comes with this cabinet. This is heavy duty, made of thick metal. This one over here about 1/4 inch thick, and it has this compartment over here and this jaw. I bolted this to the concrete so it's very sturdy, and I also shimmed it. I added shims until I got it perfect. I use a machinist level and I set it on the table in both dimensions, and I kept shimming it until it's got perfect, and then I torqued it down, and it's been great and it's very solid. You need to make sure you do that when you set your milling machine or your lathe. You need to make sure it's perfectly level, so you don't have any twist on the table or anything that affect the operation of this machine. Some of the specification of this milling machine: it has 1.5 horsepower motor. This over here travel 5 inches. The table is capable of traveling 7 inches this way and about 19 inches this way. The milling machine by itself, its weight 660 pounds, around 340 kilograms. 6-inch vise, it's perfect size for this milling machine. You're capable of chucking anything between 6 inches or less, and you could use the parallels to space it above the waist of the vise when you chuck something inside. I got 2 vices with this milling machine, this one and this one. I haven't messed with this one since I bought the milling machine. This been sitting right there. I need to clean it up and lubricate it and install some jaws on it. But this one over here been great. After I threw it up at the bottom and at the top, it's been great. It's all the work I do with it, it's come precise and give me clean finish. I hope I answered all the questions that you may have if you're planning to purchase similar milling machine. If you have any additional questions, please leave them in the comment section and I'll do my best to answer your question. Thank you for watching and thank you for your support, and I'll see you later. Take care.